I launched AppSumo, and I think this is a very important point for anyone out there, is that so many people waste so much time on problems that no one cares about. It's unbelievable. But the people, you get so wrapped up in your fishbowl that you can't see that you're in the fishbowl.
Hey, bootstrappers! Welcome to Bootstrap Stories, the podcast where founders, marketers, and thoughtful leaders share the most actionable tips on building a successful business. After meeting with hundreds of bootstrappers in the past years, I figured out that we all struggle to grow our businesses. But the truth is that most of us don't know where to ask for help or advice. That's why I decided to start this podcast, to give you all the keys to succeed at every stage of your business. All the tested strategies for solving your struggles and taking your business to a new level. No fluff, no bullshit, only a real talk between friends that help each other succeed.
My guest for this episode is Noah Kagan, Chief Sumo Officer at AppSumo. Noah, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here. Very proud of you. It's very impressive what you've done.
Thanks. I'm really inspired by everything you've done so far. So I'm really excited to also learn from you. Can you, maybe for people who don't know AppSumo, if there are any, can you give a bit of an overview of what you guys do, revenue, team size?
Sure. AppSumo.com, number one site online for software deals. And so it's what a lot of people look at it. It's the place to discover like new software at insane prices. And we have done very well promoting up and coming software and really helping companies like Lemlist and others, Udemy, MailChimp, FreshBooks, Hopin, LinkedIn, Mixpanel, Optimizely, the list goes on and on. There's sites like Heartbeat and Galaxy and Deposit Photos, and we're the launch pad for software. So if people are making software and they're like, hey, I just need to get customers and exposure for free and get some money, they come to AppSumo.com. And then from on the other side of that equation, if people are wanting to start online businesses like an agency or a freelancer or a solopreneur or e-commerce store, they come to AppSumo so that they can save a lot of money and also just discover new tools. So I'd recommend people just signing up for the newsletter, appsumo.com, just to see the new tools and also just to kind of see how we do marketing. I think people have always enjoyed our copy and our marketing.
Definitely. I think it's one of the most creative, and the team is really, really awesome.
Yeah. So the team size, I really don't know. And I think people over fixate on how many employees. We call them teammates. I think employees sounds like cogs in a machine. I'd rather have a team like teammates. There's over 100. I don't know the exact number. That's not how I optimize the business. That's not what I optimize for. And then revenue, we're hoping to hit over 100 million in revenue this year.
Wow, that's huge. The growth has been huge.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I thought I was just trying to make $3,000 a month. I wasn't trying to hey, I want to have a bunch of people work at a company and I want to make money. I wanted to make money, but I really just wanted a lifestyle, doing something I really enjoyed. And I love promoting things. So promoting Lemlist, which now I think you're at 10 million ARR, you'll probably acquire us one day. It's been a blessing to be able to be a part of people's journeys.
And when exactly did you start AppSumo?
March of 2010. So I've been on this journey for about 12 years promoting software products.
That's crazy. And how has been the growth? Was it exponential from the start? Were there ups and downs, steady growth?
Dude, it's been so easy. This is the easiest thing. You just start a business, you get rich. It's like a joke. I don't know why people have to read so many books or watch YouTubes or podcasts. I'm like, dude, you just do it. I was looking at old photos of myself, Lem, today. I was looking at some of these old photos, and these old photos, man. I was in college. I had hair. Which if this is going to podcast or is this video?
We got both. Don't worry.
We got both. I had hair, man. It was crazy. Look at this guy. I had I'm the one on the. I dyed my hair. I think one thing to take a step back on is that I was always starting businesses in college. And, not most of them didn't work. But I think the thing that for everyone else out there that has their own aspiration, they need to figure out where they want to go. But for me, it was I want to start my own company. I want to own my own thing. And so the two things that really helped me was that I was always starting. I wasn't consuming. I was producing. I was doing events. I was doing websites. I was meeting people. And the second thing is I was really cheap.
That's
I was
good.
really cheap. I lived at my mom's house for 2 years. I lived in my aunt's basement for a year. Like I lived on couches and the floors for a year. So it gave me the oxygen to be able to do and explore things without pressure, which I think a lot of people miss out on. Now, in terms of apps, and so what the reason I shared that is that, you know, it took me from 21 till 30 to finally figure out what I really wanted to do. And it took me a lot of different business ideas to finally find one that hit. And I think we got lucky and some skill. You know, the market of software got bigger. And so when I launched AppSumo, and I think this is a very important point for anyone out there, is that so many people waste so much time on problems that no one cares about. It's unbelievable. But the people, you get so wrapped up in your fishbowl that you can't see that you're in the fishbowl. You're like, this idea is going to work. I'm like, dude, no one wants it. It's not a marketing problem. I can't market your product. It sucks. No one cares. And I had those experiences when I was doing payments for companies. Like I would be their payments provider like Stripe. And no one cared, but everyone cared about customers. So I was like, I got to figure out how to help people get customers because then they'll care about me. And so when I launched AppSumo of March 2010, I did a deal with Imgur and it pretty much instantly worked. I built it in a weekend. I built it and then I had some help from a guy in Pakistan who I still talk to, Muhammad, shout out. He was like $12 an hour. I paid him $60. He helped 5 hours and instantly people wanted it. And I think when you're starting these businesses, how are you working backwards, customer first, from a customer that you know and a problem that they want and seeing if they actually want it? And so revenue wise, our first year we did 350,000. Our second year we did 3.5 million.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was like, whoop, it was really hockey stick. And I think third year, I think we did 4.5 million. And then we plateaued there for about 3 years.
Wow. And was it just you at the time or did you start having a team?
There was always people around. Like I had my girlfriend at the time help me with customer support and some of the design. And then I hired a college intern named Nick Johnson. I think we were always relatively scrappy in our hiring. We brought on the sales guy and, you know, and I think for other people out there that are starting their own bootstrap businesses, I've gotten this question a lot and I've thought about it, which is, you know, when do I hire someone? Mm. And for me, it was like when you can afford it, ideally. Or secondly, if there's a limiting piece of your business that you will grow the business by solving that. So for me, I was like, man, if I could get more deals on the site, I'll grow this business more. So basically make a list of whatever the biggest blocks. There's a book called The Goal that talks about this. It's long, but pretty good about it. Like what's the number one block that's holding up all the other blocks? And so if I got a sales guy, it would fix that because it wasn't customers that was the issue. So Matt Smith came on, did that. And then it was like, all right, but now there's all these tickets that I'm doing. So if I can get away from tickets, I can go back to marketing. And so it was this interesting kind of cycle of working the business. But yeah, and I think we started 2011 is when we started hiring people. So my business partner, Chad, joined about 9 months in for free. He worked for free for a year. I think a lot of people miss out on that. I was talking to a guy yesterday, and the biggest difference in his success was that who he was around. It was just like I was around. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was my buddy Joseph from Unchained.com. Joseph found these guys who are geniuses, and he's like, I'm just going to do whatever it takes to work with you. And then that has gone. He's gone on to sold one company, and now this company's worth $100 million plus. So find geniuses and do whatever it takes to work for free. So Chad worked. I'm not saying I'm a genius whatsoever. I'm just saying Chad worked for free just to be a part of the experience. And then we started, building up over time. But yeah, it plateaued for years. I think 2 or 3 years.
And how do you feel when you have a business plateau? Like, was it because you had obviously like revenue, so enough revenue to hire, but I know that you never like scaled the team. Like you waited quite a lot of time before like really scaling the team. So what was kind of like your mindset? Were you saying, you know what, I've got this business, it's making like really good revenue, I can get dividends at the end of the year, enjoy? Or were you a bit stressed? Like, okay, how do we leverage and get more growth? Or
yeah, one thing I would encourage every bootstrap company to do, and this is what we have at AppSumo, is called operating principles. And so what are the fundamental operating principles of Lemlist or of AppSumo? And there should be different. So one of our operating principles is that we should have no profit.
Okay.
And we copy the Amazon approach, which is every year we try to invest every single dollar down to zero so that the future year is bigger. So like I didn't even get paid for years. For years, I made like maybe 40,000, and I left a job where I was making like over 6 figures.
Wow!
And but I loved what I was doing, and I didn't have to make a lot of money. It was great. It's still great. And in terms of the team, we did scale it up. Like as we got to like $4 million, it was like we had a sales team and a support team and a design team and a marketing team. It was a team around 20. And I think there was this moment where I was talking to Chad and I said, Chad, I really hate this business. I think the products we're promoting on AppSumo are garbage. Like I remember the moment. It was like we promoted a how to build an app PDF. It was like $60. And I got the app and I got the PDF about how to build an iPhone app. I was like, this is total shit. And it's basically saying I am shit.
Yeah.
And so I said, Chad, like, I'd rather not make as much money but at least do it the way we want. And so I left for India to walk around for a month to find myself. And I came back and I was like, let's firing sounds so aggressive. Let's lay off everyone so we don't have to make money. And then let's just go back to promoting products we love. And we revisited that. Went back down. We went to 4 people. And it was me, wow, Eric, Chad, and Anton. And that was about a year or so of us just kind of grinding. And then slowly more software products came on the market. There was more ways to do advertising. We hired a CEO, Eamon, who you're familiar with.
Yeah.
And then from there, I think we kind of we gradually built the company up to where it is today.
And I'm curious, like you went from that stage of you were running the business, you came to a point where you realized what you want to do, promoting products you love and everything, and you decide to hire a CEO. So what comes to your mind when you decide to hire a CEO? How do you find him? How do you make sure it's the right person? What was your thought and process at that point?
Yeah. Our thought process at that point was that I didn't really care for AppSumo. To me, it felt like a used car lot.
Okay.
And I felt like this like used car lot dealer, like, hey, you want a deal? I got this deal, these products or whatever. And, I also at that point was doing it for 5 years. Mm. And so it doesn't, there's certain people. I have a buddy, Adam Gilbert from mybodytutor.com. He has been doing the same health coaching for I think it's 13 or 15 years. And every day he's like, I love this. For me, it was like, I don't want to go and negotiate another deal on a product. It wasn't really it wasn't motivating or inspiring. It wasn't, I think the thing everyone should consider is like, what would you do if you could wake up and work on anything? If you could work for free and you don't have to work on anything, that's the thing you should be doing. And you do have to stick with it. And I think part of our success, frankly, is that we stuck with it. And I found people who were excited to work on the things I didn't want to work on. And I truly believe some of our success is because we stuck with it, not just because of me. Because like I definitely wanted to quit. But I had, I was able to bring a lot of amazing people. Chad, who's our CTO, my business partner, Eamon. There's new people like Alona and Ullman and Nick and all these other people who are amazing, David Kelly. And so with the CEO thing, our revenue was kind of flat. We realized it wasn't predictable, right? So we'd launch an AppSumo deal, make a lot of money. We'd launch an AppSumo deal, make no money, but we still have the same salaries. So we wanted to have more consistent revenue that we controlled. And I think this is kind of how every business is. It's like, what's the number one thing holding you back from exponential growth? And then prioritize that. So we started creating our own products, monthly1k.com, which is a course about how we built AppSumo, kind of ironic. And that did really well. And it helped a lot of people. And then we were like, all right, well, this is cool, but what if we just made our own software? Because I only think courses can scale to so far. You can only teach how to build an iPhone app so many times. And you can only get it to such a level. There's only so much level of it. But with software, there's really no end. There's no finish. It can go on forever. And the return on that time, which I think a lot of people miss out on, is like, what am I getting for this time? And so we started with Sumo Me, which was basically all the tools we've been building at AppSumo that help us grow. We then released it as a product that for free our first year, but it created a recurring revenue model. And so specifically with Eamon, we were like, all right, well, AppSumo's flat. We've tried a lot of things. I think in hindsight, it's easy to say like, why'd you bring a CEO? It's like, we tried like cheap deals. We tried lots of deals. We tried like a lot of gimmicks, I would say, and a lot of ideas, and just nothing was able to get the needle moving. So it's like, you can keep trying, but if it's not working, you got to, rethink the problem. And so that's why we moved to new products, and we wanted someone to maintain it. So we weren't really looking for a CEO. We were looking for like a general manager. And I think there's a few really key things that people miss out, because I think people hear the story of AppSumo and they're like, damn, that's cool. Like, you started the business, you got it going, you found a problem that people really liked, and then you hired this guy and he did all this work and you got rich. And I think they love that. And then I hear it a lot, like, dude, how can I get my own Eamon? And I think there's a few pieces to consider here. So number one is that we had a business model that worked really well. Yeah. It's a very effective business model. Like, we go out and find amazing products like Lemless. like Udemy, like Heartbeat, like Galaxy, like Deposit Photos. Negotiate a deal. Then we send out an email and put it on the website, and we split the money. We launched you, and you have gone off into the stratosphere, and that's what we're here for. So the model was effective. Secondly, we had a very clear operating procedure, like how to run this business. It was like, Eamon, you go find a deal. Here's the words you say to get a deal. Here's where you find them. Here's how you message them. Here's how you put them on the site. Here's how you write the email. Here's how you do support. So Eamon actually ran AppSumo by himself for a year. No one else helped him. And it was like a few $1 million business at that point, $4 million a year. So number one, you have to have business model that works. Number two, you have to have very clear operating procedures. Number three, you have to spend a lot of time interviewing people. I think people thought I walked around the streets looking for some girl or guy and be like, yo, do you want to run this? We spent and I think knowing how hard something is or giving a time frame helps make it easier. We spent 6 months recruiting actively.
Wow.
Job postings, referrals, whatever we could do to find someone. And it turned out at the end, it was a referral from this guy named Charlie Hohen. I was like, hey, we're looking for anyone. Do you have anyone that could run this? He recommended Eamon. Eamon interviewed really well. Eamon has what I love, and this is part of the AppSumo culture, is immigrant mentality. The immigrant heart. He's got the immigrant heart. And the immigrant heart could be from anyone. It doesn't have to whatever country. It's just like, what is the immigrant mentality is Eamon was always positive. Eamon was always hungry, which I think is a key thing. And he always earned it. He didn't say, give it to me. He said, how do I make X amount of dollars? What can I do to make the company a lot so you can pay me a lot of money? It was never like, hey, give me this amount, which we have people at AppSumo and it does not work out for them. And that's okay. They should find a place that they can do that. But the immigrant heart is what does real at AppSumo. And Eamon embodies all of that. Now, the other two things I think are really critical in hiring a CEO to run your bootstrap business, if that's what people want, because some people want to run it. Like I'm enjoying running AppSumo now. I came back, which is, I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Next part of that is that we trained him. So he didn't just get the business. We're like, see you later. Like I talked to a friend who's like, I tried it. No, it didn't work. So I'm still running the company. There's no one as good as me. And I was like, you're not that impressive, my friend. Let me tell you, you're not as impressive as you think. None of us are actually. And so we trained, Anton did, for 18 months before he was able to run the company by himself. So I think those time frames are really important. 6 months to find it.
Yeah.
18 months of training. And then he could finally have the training wheels off. And then only after a year of that, he was able to start doing what he really wanted with AppSumo.
Yeah,
and so
you need to be patient.
Yes. I think people are expecting to find a person, throw them in, get it going, get rich. And then I think the last thing that ended up working out well for why the whole situation worked out well for, we're a bootstrap company. We don't have unlimited funds. Is that I aligned his incentives very clearly with the company. So it was like, Eamon, if the revenue grows, your salary grows. So really tie the person's upside disproportionately to them, and then you will benefit subsequently.
Was it just salary, or was it also like shares, or you don't believe really in shares? And
it was both. So I think his base, which I don't mind saying his base because it was so small at the time. I mean, relatively, it was like, I think his total comp was 120.
Okay.
And I think at Microsoft, he was actually making more. And I don't even know if he had help. He believed in AppSumo, man. I mean, he took a risk. We took a risk in him. And his dream was to run a company. That was his dream. So it's like, he gets a sweet deal. Like this company is working. You get to come be a CEO of a business. And so his total comp was really low, but it was very clear, like, hey, if we can give you a percentage of revenue, so as the more that you're able to grow this thing, the more you're able to be compensated. So I really think aligning incentives is probably undervalued in business. Now, in terms of equity and things like that, I don't really ever want to sell because I don't know. I like what I do. I think people are like, I want to sell. I'm like, and then what are you going to do? I'm going to start another business. Well, did you like the one you had? I'm like, yeah. Why don't you just stay with that one then? And look, if someone came and offered $1 billion or something higher, crazy, like I would consider it. Like, yeah, that's life-changing money.
You don't want to add on your LinkedIn profile, exited SaaS founder or something like that.
No, I mean, I think with go public, right? Yeah. Like we've talked about it. We've explored it. Well, okay, that's cool. But now the markets are down by half. That's cool. Now Facebook's not hiring. That's cool. Like egotistically, it sounds great. Like, dude, we're a public company. How cool is that, man? We're public. But like, I already don't like HR and rules that we have today. I like our people at HR. I just don't like how many rules there have to be in companies. Yeah. So now to be public, oy vey. And so in terms of, so you're asking about shares, we do give everyone shares in the company. And we are looking at how do we get them liquid through secondary sales or private sales, which gives people an upside and aligns the long-term AppSumo success. But with Eamon, it was shares, it was cash, and it was percent of revenue that scaled every year. So as we kept working on it, the way I like doing salaries is I go to the person, and this is pretty much how I do it today. I'm like, how much do you want? And Eamon's like, I want to make this much money. I'm like, all right, let's get you that. And then we figure out how to get them that. If it's like so stupid, of course we don't do it. But if it's within reason, it's like, all right, let's try to get you whatever you want. And then the company and everyone else and myself can get what we want.
No, that's really nice. And I'm curious because right now you are running the company, so you came back. I remember you putting something out there to find a new CEO. Actually, Ayman was even in the video and everything. It was like a huge referral bonus that you were willing to give. I don't remember if it was like 100K or 150K or something. What happened?
So Eamon calls me when I'm on a bike ride. I was biking across America, and he calls me one day and he's like, hey, I'm done. I was like, what do you mean you're done? Like, dude, I'm getting so rich. You do all this work. I criticize you all the time. I micromanage your shit. Like, why wouldn't you keep doing this? You're doing well financially. And he's like, I'm just done with it. And that takes a lot of courage for him. Imagine this, you're making a lot of money. I don't want to share his numbers. That's up to him. And you have a lot of status now, and you have a team, and you're like, something's not right. It takes a lot of moxie.
Yeah.
A lot of chutzpah. And so he calls me up, and I was like, well, that's some shit. So, I didn't know what to do. I was like, man, this is not what I expected. I was expecting to bike across America, and it's part of life. And I think a lot of life, there's these tests that we're getting, or not just a test, but like a challenge. And it's like, do you want to step up and find out who you can become? For all of us. And so someone was testing me, and I didn't want to do it. I was like, no, I'm good. But I did step up and come back because of support from my friends, Andrew Chen, Adam Gilbert. They're like, yo, go face that problem. Go face it. And so I do think with everyone out there, it's like, what's the hard problems we're avoiding? And go do those.
That's cool.
And those are the things we're really proud of.
That's true.
The hard ones. The hard ones are what we're proud of. And so what are the hard things we're avoiding? And let's go look at those. So I came back, talked to Eamon. He's like, yeah, I'm out. I'm like, dude, you serious? Can we do anything? Please, I'm begging. I don't want to do the work.
I love cycling.
Just let me be on my bicycle. And so, and Eamon was like, I'll stay involved. But it was also very unclear. It was like, is he starting a competitor? Is he going to go work for one of the companies that he launched? What's happening? The team was uncertain. And, we decided to start looking for another CEO that has had experience scaling a company beyond 100 million. Because I think Eamon got the company. When I came back, I think we were on track to do 55 million. I came back in April of 2021. We were on track to do 55 million. And so we're like, we need a person who's done 100 million and plus. And it was an interesting experience. So we did this thing to find the next CEO. We put out 100 million because I was like paying these recruiting companies. Honestly, all these recruiting agencies suck. They promise you, they're like, oh my God, we recruited this person. They're all full of shit. 95% of them are garbage. And I've used a lot of them. And they're just like, they don't do the work. They send an email, do a few LinkedIn spam and call it a day and collect a 100K check. Now, maybe some of them do. I'm just saying the 95%, or maybe we suck at choosing them. And I was like, instead of paying them, what if I just paid our audience 100,000? And I think one thing to take away for everyone who's a bootstrapper out there is, how do you create hype moments for your business? How do you create a hype moment? Make one. Like, Elon Musk is literally just a marketer. Like, yeah, he's pretty smart, but he doesn't work on Tesla. He doesn't work on SpaceX. He hired smart people, and he's a marketer. And for me, it was like, oh, cool. We can just do a hype moment. And I think the other interesting thing about this is that I think people don't give themselves enough credit. I think I said earlier, people give themselves too much credit. But what I mean by that is, I think a lot of us, including myself, see other CEOs that ran a company and we're like, that person must be better than me. They must know what to do, and I don't know what to do. And the reality is that they don't. They really don't, but we think they do. I always think when I'm cycling and I see a guy with a really cool bike or a girl with a really cool bike and really good clothes, I'm like, well, they must be faster than me.
But they're
do you think like that? Is that just me? Do you ever think like this?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we compare ourselves to others.
And then we think they're better. And then we put ourselves down when it's not about putting ourselves on a pedestal, but it's like, hey, maybe I can do this. So we interviewed all these people, all these CEOs of companies that did 100 million plus, and either personality was like, this is not going to fit culturally, because we're professionally casual.
Yeah.
We're very professional, but it's casual. It's not, I'm not formal. And if you want a formal place, it's okay. It's just not AppSumo. And then some of them were just like very aggressive, which is, we're aggressive, but we're not like we fire everyone right away. I think we have a lot of loyalty, and we want to give people chances at AppSumo. And so after 3 months, I was like, well, Noah, you can do this. And after that, I made the decision to come back in, and it's been a year now, and it's fucking hard. I think that's it's fucking hard, so fucking hard, and it's also so fucking rewarding. And I will say one of the things that was an interesting takeaway from myself is that if you're a bootstrapper, which is what we're talking about, and you hire someone, I think I didn't realize, and not even as a CEO, in really any position, I didn't realize what it was like in his shoes. And it was a lot of responsibility. And I definitely, when I was as the, I guess, chairman or chief sumo, whatever you want to call it, I don't think I was super micro, but I definitely rode his ass. Like I was like, why is this? Why is this? Why is this? And now that I'm in, and then the same problems I gave him that I was like, why don't we have a vision? Why don't we have this thing? Why haven't you done that? Are the same things I haven't done.
Yeah, it's on you now.
Yeah, and now we are making waves on it. And so I have a lot more empathy for CEOs. I always thought they just like didn't do shit and got a lot of money, but there's a lot of responsibility, a lot of decisions. And at the end of the day, they're responsible. And only in the past few months have I really felt like I've gotten into the driver's seat of this role. Like I am in charge of this fucking company. Not like it's mine, like in a possessive and everyone has to report to me. I prefer it with, not for. I don't want people working for me. Like if you're working for me, you're at the wrong place. I don't want to be your boss. I want you to work with me. Like straight up. And I do think those words matter. But specifically in the past maybe 4 months, I've really worked on like, where do I want the company to go? With the team's input and with, data, with our customers, with our partners, like talking to them, and where do I want it to go? And now that I'm like, holy shit, this would be fucking crazy where we're going. I'm like, yo, that's fucking cool. I want to help make that happen. I want to hire the people to help make it happen. And so finally now I feel like I'm getting out of the passenger seat and getting in the driver's seat. Yeah, so I think everyone out there, like write out your 3-year destination. Because I think I've always done 1 years, but having a 3 years, like, okay, 1 year we could do this. What could we do in 3 years? And then you could always take the 3-year one and try to do it in a year. But what it's really done for me is it's given me clarity about like, wow, this is exciting. You should be excited about your stuff. If you're not excited on a Monday, fix your shit. Make something to be excited about. And then it's also interesting to be like, well, who do I need to help me make this stuff happen? Because it did show some holes in our leadership that we have great people, but we do need people that have done some things that we haven't done before.
So what's your 3-year plan that is getting you exciting now?
We're still formulating it. I think the things that I'm trying to think about are we help, at the end of the day, our job is to promote awesome tools to help people with their businesses, like Lemlist, like, all the other ones that are on appsumo.com. Like that is what we do. We are here to promote the best tools online and help them launch. And so the question there is like, what else can we do to help them? Like, I think we've done a good job, and there's a few different problems that we're doing research on. So I'm exploring it. So one of them is after we've helped you launch, Lemlist, like you've gone on to be what, 10 million ARR?
Yeah, we are a bit north of that, but yeah.
Oh, wow. Holy shit. Good for you, man. Maybe say, yeah, dude, hire me. Let me come be your intern. But we didn't we've never talked to you again, right? Like we kind of do, but you're like beyond us now. So there's a question is like, should we help after we've launched you, should we help you get to the stratosphere, or can people do it themselves?
In full transparency, I really, really enjoyed when you guys invited me in Austin to spend 10 days or so, work with the team, etc. I think this was pretty awesome. And I think it's also part of our success, to be honest. Because after we launched with you guys in the early days, I came to Austin and really spent an awesome time. Ilona, who's now VP operation, was working in marketing. It was great. Chris, Nick, was a really poor soccer player, but we will not tell that to him.
How did they help? What did they help you do differently versus what you were going to do?
I think it's just like for us as like a French company with a lot of customers in the US. For me, it was really interesting to see how you guys operate. What do you guys do? The ambition, I think, because when I started, like I had like zero ambition, like for real. And then like you guys were like 15 people doing 15 million at the time, and it was like $1 million per employee. I was like, this is just huge. You seem to be like, I mean, all the marketing was really impressive. And I just, I think for me, it was just about thinking like bigger. Because when I started, I think I had the same goal as you, like just getting enough money so, I can pay the rent and not my girlfriend. And step by step, I became more ambitious. But when I went to Austin and spent time with you guys, I was like, okay, I know I can make like a really, really big business. And it's just, removing some self-limiting belief, I would say.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking to Ali Abdal. He's one of my favorite YouTubers yesterday. And
yeah, love him.
I chatted with him last year. You like him too?
Yeah.
And I chatted with him last year and he was telling me about his revenue. I was like, Ali, I don't know why your business is not a $10 million business.
Yeah, definitely.
And I told this, and look, to be clear, everyone should determine whatever fucking goal they want. If you're like, hey, if people are like, hey, I just want to be the only employee and hire contractors and I want them to make 100,000 a year, there's no wrong answer. Everyone needs to determine their own goal. So the idea of more or bigger, I think is highly overused in business.
And the guy was a doctor, so we need to give him some slack also. Like he has like doctor job plus YouTuber.
But I think what's interesting is that he didn't realize that he could make 10 million until I told him. Not that I did anything. I was just like, I don't know why you're not at 10 million if you want to be. And he told me this yesterday. He's like, when you told me that, I was like, oh, I can do it. And I think there's something interesting about being around a high bar, a high standard, high excellence. And if you have not been around it, like I was at Facebook with Mark Zuckerberg, Dustin Moskovitz, Peter Thiel, Sean Parker, like Charlie, Adam D'Angelo, Charlie
all
Cheever,
the guys from the movie.
Yeah, Boz, Andrew Bosworth, Naomi Gleit. I worked at Mint. I mean, it's not that I'm great. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that I have seen someone who's like, hey, we're going to have everyone in the world use this product. And I'm like, then I go back. I'm like, hey, what if we could get 10 people to use it? It's like, 10 people when I'm in my company. And so what I'm saying for everyone out there is like, how do you surround yourself or even be close to it? And you can go on YouTube and watch this. That's a way of doing it. And it's just like, oh, cool. Like there is other things I could do here. And so I think for you, that was cool. I'm glad the team was able to do that because, that's special. What I'm curious for you, how could AppSumo help you today? Or what do you, not absolutely from the question, what do you need the most help with for Lemless today?
I do feel, to be honest, Olo still owes me like a trip to Austin because I brought so many deals your way and COVID hit. So, like they didn't invite me back afterwards. But again, for me, it's the same thing because it's basically works kind of as a coaching, like spending time, as you said, with people who have done it before and making sure, that you realize it's possible for you to do the same. It's inspiring. And I guess for you, it's like you surrounded yourself with really like famous entrepreneurs and people who have done it. And as you said, like what you said earlier is like, you see those people, they are super impressive from the outside. And then in the end, you realize that they actually don't know most of the time what they're doing. And when you realize that, it's at that point that you kind of feel like you are at the same level and that you also can do it. And for me, it's the same. So it's like, how can I hang out more or find time to get this inspiration, get an outside look, get like it's the same. You went walking for like a month in India to come back and say, okay, we have to let go some people so we do a bit differently. So you had to take some distance, change perspective, change your environment in order to see bigger and see differently. So for me, this is what I'm looking for, when I try to do these small breaks or do like this type of thing.
So specifically with your business, what's the number one priority or what's the number one thing you're working on?
Right now, it's really about like scaling. So initially, I thought like it was all about the money, etc. But very quickly, when you reach certain levels and you're making millions, you realize that actually none of that matters. However, my next goal is to reach $100 million in annual recurring revenue. And what I'm excited about is which CEO am I going to become when I run $100 million company? Because it will mean that technically I would have like a much bigger team. I would have faced so many challenges, etc. And this excites me. So right now, my number one focus is really about hiring a team, training them, finding the right people to really like skyrocket the growth.
How are you going about finding the team?
That's a good question. To be honest, I do a lot of outreach. I use Lemlist. I go on LinkedIn. I see people creating content, doing shits, and I try to connect with them as much as possible, talk with them, and if it clicks, I try to same as your friend. You know, I try to do everything I can so they join us.
Yeah, I've talked with Eamon about this because being a CEO of a $100 company or $1,000 company or $1 million or $100 million, very different skill sets. And so I think as much as we think about others in our team getting elevated, it's also ourselves. Like, what are we doing for ourselves? Like, is there a business? Like, we use Reboot, which is a great book and a great coaching program. We use them. I have therapy. Like, there's just different ways of like, how are you leveling up yourself to be at the $100 million level? Because I would say with AppSumo now, it's like my favorite part of AppSumo is how hard all of these things are.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. I just find all these problems and my mindset is like, wow, these are really interesting problems. Like, how do you deal with leadership? How do you deal with yourself? How do you deal with HR? How do you deal with like growth maybe being not as high as you want it to be?
So what was the one thing you did or two things you did to kind of like level up and grow to that stage?
Now or in the past?
No, like up until now and for the future.
Yeah, I would say there's numerous different things. I would say number one, having coaching is very helpful. I had a CEO coach, nice. And now we use Reboot. So I think having coaching is invaluable. Number two is getting feedback. So we do a thing, copied it from Uber called T3B3. We do it. I aim to do it as often as possible, but it's quarterly. So what are the top 3 things you like that Noah does? And what are the bottom 3 things you do? So like recently, they're like, Noah, you're too much in our shit. You're not focusing on long-term enough. And some of the ways you're handling meetings need to be a little bit more productive. And I was like, oh, thank you. I'll go fix that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's how you can actually improve. That's the only way to improve. You get feedback from people you want. I think the other thing that we've done well with AppSumo is had very clear goals. So if you want to go somewhere, it's like, where are you going? And I would say Eamon really introduced this. Like, I'm a shiny object syndrome marketer, where I'm like, oh, what's the new marketing channel? What's the new thing we're going to do? And I think Eamon brought in a level of operating excellence. And I think this is missed out on, which is how much more meat is on the bone. So the way to think about this is like, how did you get your existing customers? We did ads, or we did social media, or we did partnerships, or we did YouTube, or we did whatever it is. Well, how much more of that is there for the existing customers? Like, do you have all 100% of that market? And the answer is never 100%. And so and this is something we're revisiting at AppSumo is how do you go back to basics, which is just like, what are the things that have already worked to get us here that we can do a lot more of versus thinking we need something brand new, like more blog posts. So for us, it's like, well, affiliates working well, ads are working well, emails working well, agencies working well. Let's go do a lot more of those before we get so excited to fucking dick around on TikTok. And so
I've got the same syndrome.
Yeah, it's a common thing, or referrals, right? Like every business has, if you have a customer, that customer has a customer for you, but no one does a good job, including ourselves, with referrals. Like we use fucking FriendBuy, which is garbage.
But you're pretty good with referral. I mean, if we look at your acquisition strategy, no?
It's good. I think the biggest way we do referrals is we have great products like Lemlist, or WriterZen, or whatever's on AppSumo of the day. Like if it's a great product, people send it to their friends, like Super Okay, or deposit photos. And so I think you can figure out how to lubricate it. So as long as you've built something that people actually want, which we were very lucky to hit on with AppSumo, how do you lubricate it by incentivizing them or asking them even? Right. So we open up the AppSumo marketplace where anyone now can submit. So we have a sales team that goes out and finds the best products, but also now if anyone creates one, they could go on appsumo.com/sell and submit themselves and get live within 24 hours. Now, the problem there though is that it's hard to promote all these products with the amount of audience we have. We need to increase audience. So we are encouraging and helping our partners, giving them marketing material, kind of coaching like we did with you. Here's how to run your business on AppSumo. And, so anyways, I think the two things in terms of scaling a business is like, What are things that you're already doing that are working you could do a lot more of, 10 times more of? And I just to give an example, I asked someone this. I was like, how'd you get your customers? Oh, I did blogging. All right, well, how much blogging do you do? Oh man, I do a lot. Tell me how much. I do 2 a week. Well, that's cool. How come you're not doing 10 posts a day? They're like, well, I don't know. I was like, there is some curve where at some point it doesn't work as much. But I think we've done a good job getting there. And I think even for us, there's probably still more that we can do in a lot of these areas.
Definitely. Noah, I want to be cautious of your time. So thanks a lot, man, for being on the podcast and sharing with us all these nuggets, especially for bootstrappers. Where can people follow you, follow your journey, and follow the updates of AppSumo?
Han, one question. Is it okay if I have one more question for you?
Yeah, of course, man. It was because you told me you had only 45
minutes. I have 45. I got it. Yeah, I appreciate it. And thank you for having me. And I'm proud of you. I think it's so cool that like we were a little help in what you've done.
Definitely.
We are thinking about adding recurring revenue for someone like yourself, where you maybe don't have to do a crazy discount, right? A crazy promotion, it makes sense at the beginning because you're getting going. Like, what would make that worth it for you? Or what amount of MRR could we bring? Or what would make you say, oh shit, yeah, let me go get back on AppSumo as a regular MRR potentially?
For me, I guess it's really tricky in terms of discount strategy, just because as like our strategy when it comes to discount is that we don't do discounts. So basically, like right now, we have stopped entirely like discounting even for sales, etc., etc. So I would say that it would have to be framed in a like super secret way, I would say, to kind of like get recurring revenue, but not discounted as we did in the launch phase. So, like something that brings really like more than $1 million in ARR like each year, and that can add up over time.
So if it was $1 million ARR, you didn't have to worry about discount. I also we don't want to hide things. It's not really our thing. But if it was $1 million ARR, that would make it like an exciting channel for you.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the number one channel for you guys today?
Right now, I would say like overall word of mouth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How do you
we don't do
ads?
That, we do 0 ads. We spend $0 on ads. We do outbound because we use Lemlist. And then it's our community content that we create, but we don't do SEO. And word of mouth in general.
Well, two questions there. How come you don't do ads? You don't like money?
To be honest, it's really like a good question, and we have hired someone who is joining in July, but we got super lazy. It's the same. Like at some point you have to focus where you're good at. I didn't know how to do ads. I knew how to do cold email, so I just did that in the early days, and then I didn't spend time to hire the right person.
No, there's no right or wrong. I think the only thing I was poking at is I think a lot of people say, I don't do ads. Like we've grown naturally. It's like Google is running ads. Facebook's running ads. Like
no, it's fucking stupid.
It's one of them. It's
ads.
one of the marketing channels. It's not the first one I think people should do. I think people should try to do, free or organic as much as possible. And then word of mouth. How do you facilitate word of mouth, or how do you foster that?
Great product. So it's like a lot of product-led growth. And then it's a community. I think it's just bringing as much value as possible for people, but without being kind of like pushy. So there are lots of things that we don't do as part of our strategy because we felt like some marketing tactics can sometimes be pushy and redundant for people. So we've tried to remove all the friction and just have like a focus on value. So we do tons of things, for example, where we would pick one of our customers and run their entire outbound and document everything, so more people could actually see how to do outbound. And for our users, it's basically like also a great way to get a bit of get exposure to our community, etc. And then it drives like word of mouth because people want to share it to like their audience, etc., etc. And we have kind of like this growth circle.
Dude, hell yeah, man. All right. Yeah, one thing we're exploring on the MR to be able to help you guys out even more after you've launched is like, how do we get the customers excited about it, especially if there's no discount, or no special.
That's the trick. Yeah, I'm sure you'll figure out the solution,
or not, or embrace what's already working. Yeah, we're experimenting. People can go sign up for the AppSumo.com newsletter at AppSumo.com. I put out a lot of content on youtube.com/okdork. We put out about a video a week to help people be inspired or help grow on their business journey. And then I have a newsletter, okdork.com, where people can get a weekly newsletter, and, hit reply and talk to me.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Noah. Have an amazing day.
Au revoir.
Thank you for listening to the Bootstrap Stories, the only podcast where bootstrap entrepreneurs share their journey in all transparency. If you enjoyed this episode, don't hesitate to leave us a review. And in case you want to see the interview, all episodes are live on the YouTube channel. Check out the link in the description and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Have an amazing day, and make sure to also join us in our amazing Bootstrap community where we all helped each other to become successful and grow a profitable business. Take care and talk to you soon.